I'm Shane Keating, Councillor for Ward 12. The purpose of this video is to talk about the Greenline. Now, the two components of the Greenline is the North Central and the Southeast or Setway. We've studied the complete line, but the North Central hasn't been determined yet. Where the Southeast, the alignment is there, and we're actually going to be beginning some of the construction. We want to make sure that we show the importance of the complete Green Line, but we'll be focusing on the Southeast. And the intent is to show how we can transform development and densify, which is crucial to the city of Calgary.
Calgarians value public transit. When we asked people in Calgary, where do you see the future of Calgary transit? Among the things we heard were increase the frequency of buses and trains, arrive on schedule, and connect places more directly. That's what our new rapid transit plan will provide, a faster, more reliable way to travel in Calgary. And the good news is, it's coming to Southeast Calgary. In the next 2 generations or 60 years, our transportation network will need to handle over 1 million more people living in Calgary and over 500,000 new jobs. We know we can't handle it without having a large portion of people living and working within the existing footprint of Calgary. And we can't handle it without strong public transit. We need to make Calgary Transit the first choice for getting around Calgary.
So the portion we're talking about is the Setway. What is the Setway? It stands for Southeast Transitway. What we're doing is we're actually taking the LRT right-of-way, we're taking the land and the alignment that is there, and we're building a road on it that will only allow buses to go on it. And we will building all the infrastructure, the overpasses, the tunnels, so that this bus will not have to stop at red lights, stop in congestion on traffic. It will be its own roadway. Then in the future, we'll take that LRT and we'll put tracks and we'll put the infrastructure there so that we actually have a true light rail transit in the Southeast. We're working hard with architect Jeremy Sturgess to develop a TOD plan for the complete Southeast, and making sure that we're pre-planning what is this going to look like in 10, 20, or 30 years? What are the buildings going to be like? What are the residents are going to be in there? What's the employment site?
Setway will start downtown and go from 10th Avenue and 4th Street through Inglewood and into Ramsey, on through the Crossroads Market, through Linwood and Ogden, Milliken and South Hill, and then to Quarry Park and Douglas Glen, on to Shepherd and Prestwick, McKenzie Towne, Auburn Bay, and ultimately ending up at Seaton.
If we look at the rest of the city, we have the Northeast LRT, we have the Northwest LRT, we have the West LRT, and we have the South Central LRT. And you can actually see in one quadrant of the city, there is no viable transportation. The need for this Green Line and the Setway is desperate. Ward 12 now gets 35% of all of the city's growth. So we have grown by 30,000 plus people in 3 to 4 years. And that's just going to continue. Last year, we grew by 40,000 people in the city. We're going to continue growing by that much each year. And soon, we're just going to have more and more cars on the Deerfoot. And what we have to do is get those single driver cars off of the street and give them viable public transportation.
We are really fortunate with the Setway that a whole kind of quadrant of the city that has really been, I think, ignored is now on the verge of a fantastic opportunity.
So the TOD, Transit-Oriented Development, takes the land and actually plans out how and where and what are the components would be. What are the size of the buildings? How many residents should be in the building? What types of employment centers should be there? How does it work and how does it interface with the rest of the city? We still need single-family housing, but we also need an ability for those who don't want to drive all the time to walk from their door, go across the street and get on a public transit and be able to move into different areas of the city. What we want to do is when we build the LRT, the BRT, the Setway line, we want to be able to have residents ready and people to move into these areas and have the public transportation at the same time as we're developing the lands. Rather than what we've had in the past is we've done the transit network and then we say, how should we develop? We're trying to be proactive and make sure that all is laid out in place so that we can continue.
The real sort of win-win of transit-oriented development for me is that it allows us to take the city with all of its terrific network of road systems and everything that we have in place now, but by adding transit to the mix and by then creating density on what I call fallow land. I mean land that isn't used now or isn't used well. So not affecting any of the existing single-family houses, not affecting what is already in place, but taking land like in South Hill that is just vacant and saying we could put thousands of people there in a way that is really beautiful, just as well worked out as I like to say Bridgeland is, and have a whole new community there that won't impact Riverbend next door or anything else because of the road networks, because of the transit. It just allows real density to be in a place like that. Other communities on the Setway that are already working really well with density, McKenzie, Towne, Seaton do this really well. There's pockets that can develop there as well. And even in the historic neighborhoods of Inglewood and Ramsey, there's places to add density that won't step on anybody's toes, but will really enrich everybody's experience in those places.
My name is Sharron Stevens. My family and I recently moved to McKenzie Town. The reason we did that is because we have a son with special needs and we were looking for a walkable community. We found that in McKenzie Town and now we just have issues with the transit. My son will never drive and so he is learning to travel on transit now. Currently that means 20-minute bus ride over to Somerset Bridlewood C train station, onto the C train, and then onto another bus. It's far too difficult for him. It causes him way too much stress. If we had a Southeast LRT system, that would alleviate some of those pressures from him and also give us more family time. It takes 55 minutes on the number 302 from McKenzie Town into the downtown core. For those that don't have room to get on the bus, that means 55 minutes of standing. That's far too long.
The fastest growing area of the city is the Southeast. And now we've got Quarry Park, which is a new business area. You've got Imperial Oil moving in there, so a business center. And then Seaton as well, which is kind of the end of the line for the future LRT and the Greenline. We kind of keep hearing that the LRT is coming. It's coming. It always seems to be about 10 years off. And the reality is 10 years ago, it was 10 years off. And today, it's still 10 years or more off.
Being a resident in Douglasdale, I don't have many options to get downtown other than bus or I drive. And out of Douglasdale, there is only 2 exits and they're on the Deerfoot. So having a transit system that would take you downtown I think would be very beneficial for all the residents in Southeast Calgary. I think when you look at all the areas within Calgary, I'm not sure why Southeast Calgary does not have the C train.
In order to have a truly sustainable city, we need to extend rapid transit into the gaps we see in our current network, and that includes Southeast Calgary. That's why we have established the Greenline as the next leg of our LRT network, extending from Southeast Calgary to North Central Calgary through the downtown. And thanks to the dedication of $52 million over 10 years of local funding, we will be able to create a transitway between downtown and Douglas Glen, providing fast, reliable bus rapid transit service to Southeast Calgary. We're also leveraging that funding by applying to the provincial and federal governments for additional financial support. We're making an application to the Building Canada Fund to build the transitway all the way to Seaton and the South Health campus. And in the longer term, subject to the availability of additional provincial and federal grants, we will be converting the transitway to operate light rail transit, providing the additional capacity required in the future. It's an exciting project, and its time has come.
So what do we need you to do? We're looking at funding from the 3 levels of government: municipal, federal, and provincial. We need you to go out, talk to your MLAs and your MPs and your city councillors, and ask them to make this a priority in their life so it isn't such a detriment in ours. How can you find these individuals? They all have websites. We know the provincial government has a website, the federal government has a website. You can actually put in your address and find your representative in that manner. You may also check out my website, shanekeating.ca, and there is a list for you to get a hold of those individuals.